with what happened with your brother, you seemed like you had the most amazing relationship with him. My mom committed suicide. And so
oh my God, I didn't know that.
Truly, I would not wish it on anyone. It's really,
wow.
It's really obviously devastating for the person to go through, but it's really hard in the aftermath.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that, and how did you talk about that? You seem like you're such good friends with your brother.
Yeah. Well, as you know, it's like the most fucked up experience.
Yeah, it really is.
And I don't know, I'm only a few years out, but if it's something you ever can shake, because it's so intense.
We had a grief, not a counselor, but what do you call him, expert specialist on the show literally yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And he was basically saying it's like, it never leaves, you never shake it. It's just something you learn to
live with it. So you learn to live with the pain and the trauma and the fear and the anxiety and like all of the things that accompany grief. Because I think it's like grief is so big. It's and changes all the time. And I think that's something I realized, like, when I think that I have a handle on it, it shifts, and the next year it's a totally different experience. But I just try and stay present in like the uncomfortable moments. Really, is all I. When it happened, I kind of had this like feeling that if I wasn't extremely present through the pain of the grief, that I wasn't going to make it through it. So I felt like I consciously was trying to feel everything, I think. I don't know what that did, but that was my method.
It's overwhelming. I think the suicide is so overwhelming because you start rewinding the tape of like, you know, the last time you talked to them, could you have said something? And then the last month that you were with them, did you see a sign?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, why? And then you start thinking about, for me, I start thinking about like years later or years before, 2 years before, like, was there something there? That was weird. You start putting it together and it's kind of like a mind fuck.
It is a mind fuck.
Yeah.
In your situation, was it something that was totally shocking, or was it from your perspective?
Now that I'm an adult, not at all.
Right.
Now, you know how you have like the perspective, you can see how that could have happened.
Yeah.
I actually, this is really weird. I've never said this to anyone but Michael. I actually understand it.
Okay.
This is a long time ago though. So I actually understand it and I feel empathy for it. And what you said about your mom, about how you said she was insecure, that you weren't insecure, you felt sorry for her.
Empathy, yeah.
That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that when I had a daughter, it brought it back up like to the surface.
Yes.
And I think like you just the same with you. It never, grief sort of never ends. And like, for instance, if you were to have a little boy and you have your daughter and you see that relationship, it's kind of brings stuff up that you think is shoved down.
100%. And like, I also had a daughter, and my mom passed away when she was 5 months old, and so I have spent a lot of her life in grief so far, and it brings up a lot of like fear and you know, like irrational fear, and going, oh God, is this gonna happen? You know, I think the fear of the loss of connection between a child and a parent is like so terrifying.
Yeah.
That it does bring up like, am I going to end up like that? Is this going to happen to like somewhere, you know? Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting time parenting.
It's because it's like you said, everything is a reflection. It's like, especially with what you've been through with double. I mean, I can't even imagine. It's like hitting you from both ends, and then you also have to show up as a parent, but then you're looking at yourself as the mother. It's a mind fuck.
Totally. It's totally been a mind fuck. And I think it's funny because a lot of the interviews I do, everyone kind of is like, well, do you feel like so proud of yourself for breaking the generational trauma? Like you feel like, you know, like putting me like, or like giving me this responsibility that I've, you know, that
it's a weird question.
A weird question. And also people keep saying like, how did you break your family's curse or something?
Oh, Jesus
And I'm like,
Christ.
that's so intense. But also I'm like, I definitely am a human and having like very human experiences of grief and sadness and difficult emotions. And I definitely don't feel like I've like done anything special. I just
think
wasn't
they don't
given
know what
this.
to say.
We
I know.
I
know
think
people
that
are,
they're trying.
yeah.
I think that with suicide
I know.
specifically, and
So
can you
it's
imagine
so
how
true.
long ago for this was so long, no one wanted to even touch
Talk about
that
it.
word.
Yeah.
It was like someone told me to lie and say my mom died of brain cancer.
It's crazy.
People did not want to touch that word. So I think even now they don't know what to say to you. And so what they do is to overcompensate is they'll put you on a pedestal
right.
as you're the
They're
one.
like, wow, you're alive.